Monday Night Raw for this week is officially over, so you know what that means. It is now time for the Raw recap. As always in these recap videos, we go over everything you need to know about this important episode of WWE, and I give my thoughts on everything that happened. And at the end of the show, at the end of the video, I rate the show out of roughly a scale of out of 10. And obviously, you guys can leave me your thoughts on the show down in the comments below. But before we get into any of it, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and go follow the socials. And the links to those will be in the description of this video. But now that that's all out of the way, let's get right on into the Raw recap. Okay, so this is just going to be a little bit of a short interference here before we actually jump into what first happened on this episode of Raw. But it was said by the announcers that Naomi is not medically clear, so she was originally supposed to have a match tonight with Io Sky for the World Heavyweight title. But obviously they said that Naomi is not medically clear, and to stay updated with more news on obviously WWE's social medias. So I just wanted to throw that out there before that we will not be covering that match because Naomi is not medically clear. But now let's move on to the first thing that happened in this episode of Raw. Alright, so we started off with a banger of a segment and a banger of a promo, man. So we start off with CM Punk, and obviously, as you'd expect, he says that he's angry that he's not champion because obviously Seth Rollins did cash in on him when he won the world title at SummerSlam. So obviously, as you'd expect, he's very angry about that. He says that he has a Seth Rollins problem that he basically needs to get rid of, and he needs to basically get his world title back from Seth Rollins and destroy Seth Rollins. And he says in doing that, he's going to be even more ruthless. He says he's going to be even more aggressive when trying to do all this, and he says that he's not going to be anything like he was originally. He is going to be way more ruthless when going after the world title and going after Seth Rollins. And then we jump in, and LA Knight comes out, and LA Knight has to say that yes, Punk, you were robbed from that world title, but he says that he deserves the first rematch against Seth Rollins because obviously last week LA Knight got a shot at Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight title in the main event of Raw last week, but CM Punk came out and interfered in that, which costed LA Knight the match. So obviously LA Knight says that he deserves the first shot against he deserves the first rematch against Seth Rollins. He says that he did understand CM Punk's actions for why he did what he did, but he says that was the wrong time to do things. Obviously, like I mentioned, CM Punk obviously did cost LA Knight the match. So obviously, yes, that was the wrong time for Punk to get involved in that match because it costed LA Knight being world champion. So obviously that's why he says that there. He says that CM Punk can get his rematch just on his own time. He says that, yes, Punk, you can absolutely have Rollins, but on your own time. But right now, this is my time. It is my time to destroy Seth Rollins and get the world title. But after, you can have your match with him. But then Punk says that you should be saying thank you because obviously in the match last week, before Punk interfered, Seth Rollins was going to curb stomp LA Knight into the concrete that was on the outside of the ring, and obviously before he could do that, CM Punk was able to interfere and stop that. But obviously that wasn't the reason why that happened. That was the main reason Punk came out was to just take down Seth Rollins. Inevitably it was not to take it was not to help LA Knight, but that's what CM Punk threw in LA Knight's face here. And then CM Punk obviously says that he should be number one contender and not LA Knight. It needs to be me first before you because I lost the title first. But then he says, LA Knight says that Punk is not on his level, and they pretty much just continue with the idea that it's kind of like a little bit of a back and forth, if you would, about who should really be number one contender. But inevitably, LA Knight once again just says that he deserves to be number one contender, and he tells Punk, "Don't step over the line." But then he says this, which is what I think was really funny. Says that Punk can have a title. He can have a title match against him once he dethrones Seth Rollins, and he can be a part of my first successful title defense. I thought that was very hilarious because obviously he's saying that he is going to win the world title, and he says when he does that, CM Punk can be a part of his first successful title event. So that was very funny there. I love that. But then we have Paul Heyman come out, and he says, I'm not going to talk about too much of what Paul Heyman had to say. The main thing he had to say was he gave out the idea of that LA Knight and CM Punk team up later tonight, and they face Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Obviously, we do get this match later in the night, which we will talk about in the main event of the video. But that's really all Heyman had to say there. But then man, Heyman and Bronson Reed they start walking to the backstage, but Braun Breaker obviously was out there with them, and he starts marching down to the ring to fight now, but obviously the match isn't until the main event. Obviously Bronson Reed and Paul Heyman come down to stop Braun Breaker from getting in the ring and fighting them, but so they do. When they're doing so, I love when Braun Breaker says that, tells CM Punk that you're 47-year-old and both of you guys are 100 years old combined. I thought that was absolutely funny. I think that was a very good thing to throw in there. Very comedical in my opinion. There was various times in this promo where I had a good laugh, man. Very damn funny, man. I, for the most part, love the promo. Very comedic at points, which I loved, and overall, man, just love the promo. Love the opener. Great opener. I think this is a very awesome promo. But now let's move on. All right, and now we jumped into the first match of the night, which included Dominic Mysterio and El Grande Americano versus AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. And for the most part, man, this match was very decent. I think this match included some very good spots that I enjoyed. And for the most part, I was not extremely bored with the match. I enjoyed most of this match. So for that reason already, man, I think this was awesome, because honestly, going into this match, this is a match I'm thinking, it might be decent, but it's not going to be like something like special, but I was quite wrong. Now, I'm not saying this match was special, but it's definitely better than decent. I think there was just some spots in there that had me kind of like, that was okay. That was pretty cool. So I think for that reason, I definitely rate this match it's decently high up there. So yeah, man, I, for the most part, did enjoy the match, but in the end, we did have the involvement of the steel plate that El Grande Americano usually puts inside his mask. So El Grande, he reaches for it, and not gonna lie, El Grande reached a little bit too deep for that thing, so hopefully that thing did not stink. I'm not gonna lie. But before he could even put it in his mask, AJ Styles was able to hit him with a Pele kick. That knocked off the steel plate onto the outside where Dominic Mysterio was, and Dominic Mysterio put it inside his mask, and then he hit AJ Styles with it, and then that caused El Grande Americano to be able to roll up AJ Styles for the 1, 2, 3, and then that was it. The match is over, and Dominic Mysterio and El Grande Americano do win here. So for the most part, enjoyed the match, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed the involvement of the steel plate here in this match. It showed how Dominic Mysterio outsmarted AJ Styles, which I thought was very awesome. So honestly, very good, very awesome match. Like I said, my favorite part of it was most likely the involvement of the steel plate, and it was the right call to involve the steel plate, and it was definitely the right call to even have Dominic Mysterio use the steel plate against AJ Styles. That was the right thing to do. I think that was very awesome. I wasn't really expecting that either, but it did happen, and I think that was awesome, man. So for the most part, though, did enjoy this match, but yeah, but very decent match that I personally enjoyed. All right, next up, we jumped into Rusev versus Sami Zayn. Obviously, how this match came about was when Sheamus and Rusev were brawling last week. Rusev had attacked Sami Zayn as well in the midst of all that, so that's how we came to this match. Now, as far as this overall match goes, nothing really shocked me, and to where I thought that this match was really good to the extent of being good. It really felt like every time that Sami hit one of those little exploder suplexes that he hits in the corner before he hits the haluva kick, that's really all this match felt like it was, man. Every time that happened is when the crowd popped. That's like the only time the crowd popped practically in this match is when Sami did that. So that's really all this match really felt like. Just nothing really special because of that reason. Maybe not just all because of that reason, just because, I don't know, man. I just really wasn't looking forward to this match. I really was just hoping that they would just continue to move on with just Sheamus and Rusev, because I'm actually enjoying that. But I'm really not enjoying the Rusev versus Sami thing. I did not enjoy that at all. The match didn't even end it ended in a DQ because Solo Sikoa and his MFTs had interfered in this match and had taken out Sami Zayn, because obviously Solo Sikoa is pissed at Sami Zayn for pinning him on SmackDown this last week, which I thought that was weird, man. I thought that wasn't going to turn into anything bigger, but I guess WWE has other plans. But I really don't know how to feel about it too much right now. But as far as, I guess right now, I'm really not a big fan of Solo interfering in this. But I'll try to formulate more opinions on this later on. But as far as right now goes, that was really dumb. I don't think that was necessary, man. It really just feels like Sami's just being jumped around, honestly, at this point. Does this Rusev thing, and now we're already doing this thing. So it's just consistently shifting, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It just depends how you look at it. But right now, I personally am not a big fan of that. But as far as the match goes, was not a big fan of it at all, man, honestly. All right, and next up, we jumped into Roxanne Perez versus Io Sky, man, and these two women had great chemistry together, in my opinion. I think this overall match was great. I enjoyed it for the most part, but the thing that was sloppy was the ending, because the match was very good, but the ending was bad. I think if the ending was a lot better, this match would have been a 10 out of 10, if you will. But for the most part, the match was good. Just the ending was not a big fan of it. I mean, you had Roxanne try to attack Io Sky and hit Io Sky into Asuka and I can't even think. Oh, and Kairi Sane. Obviously, Io Sky was able to evade that for a moment, but then she was eventually hit into Asuka and Kairi Sane, and then Roxanne came up for a quick roll up, and 1, 2, 3, the match is over. So I thought that was just kind of sloppy. I was not a big fan of that there. But as far as the rest of the match goes, really no problems for me, man. I think the match overall was awesome, and honestly, I would. This is a match I would like to see again at some point down the road, which I'm sure we'll get it again. But for the most part, definitely enjoyed it. Obviously, though, Roxanne Perez does come out on top, and it's going to be interesting to see where things possibly go from here, man. I'm assuming probably going to continue with this, with Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez being involved with the Kabuki Warriors and Io Sky. I wouldn't see them probably stepping away from that for a minute. But yeah, for the most part, man, definitely enjoyed the match and definitely want to see it again. But once again, the ending of this match was just not that good. But yeah. Alright, now I'm really not going to talk much about this next match, but we jumped into Maxine Dupree versus Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. As you'd expect, this was a practical squash match. I mean, Maxine Dupree got more offense than I think she would have, which was surprising, but still, man, this match was pretty damn lame. I guarantee you they're leading up to have a Becky Lynch versus Natalya at some point for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and honestly, they should have just went right to it, not go through Maxine Dupree. That was just dumb and pretty much boring, man. This match was a squash match. That's really all you can really say this match was an absolute squash match. There's nothing else to really talk about here. Becky retains, and that's really it, man. But very disappointing match, honestly. Alright, and we have now came to our main event, which included CM Punk and LA Knight versus Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Obviously, the match was good, that's kind of obvious, but really the match isn't really the main thing we want to focus on here. The main takeaway here is the match, first of all, did end in a DQ. Seth Rollins did intervene, and he stomped, I'm pretty sure he stomped CM Punk first, he attacked CM Punk first, which caused the disqualification. I'm pretty sure it was CM Punk that he attacked first. So they started attack. Seth Rollins came out, caused the disqualification. They started beating up LA Knight and CM Punk. But then we had main event Jey Uso, Mr. Yeet. He came out and he helped out CM Punk and LA Knight. At first, I thought that he was going to help him out and then they were going to stand tall, but that is not actually what happened. Yes, Jey Uso did help him out. He did wipe out Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. He wasn't able to hit Seth Rollins because he brought out a steel chair, but he wasn't able to hit Seth Rollins with it because Seth Rollins got out of the way. But Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Seth Rollins, they all got out of the ring afterwards. And we thought that was it there, but then Adam Pearce comes out, and this is where you really want to listen, man. So turn up them headphones, whatever you got to do. Turn up your TVs, whatever. Turn up your volume because this is what you want to hear. At Clash in Paris, it is official. Seth Rollins will be defending the World Heavyweight title in a fatal four-way against main event Jey Uso, LA Knight, and CM Punk, man. That match is going to be an absolute heater. I cannot wait for that match. It is going to be a banger. That match can go really so many ways. I mean, inevitably, I do think Seth Rollins will most likely retain there, but I don't care, man. The match is going to be fire. That's all that matters. But then afterwards, Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, they came back in the ring and they were able to get the upper hand on main event Jey Uso and LA Knight and CM Punk. And then that was what ended the show, man. But the main takeaway here is that CM Punk, main event Jey Uso and LA Knight and Seth Rollins will be having a match for the World Heavyweight title at Clash in Paris, man. So for the main event, man, so happy that was announced. That is going to be a fire match. And overall, the main event was very, very awesome, man. So very damn good main event. All right, everybody. Well, that was it for the Raw recap for this week, man. As far as the overall show goes, I think it was pretty damn decent, man. As far as the show goes, there were some good things, but there was still a few things that I wasn't too, fond about. So, I will rate this show as just being decent, but it was close to being a good Raw for sure. But that's just my personal opinion. You guys obviously leave me your opinions down in the comments below. Maybe let me know what your favorite thing that happened tonight was, or just what or just where you think maybe things could go from here from this episode of Raw. But once again though, hope y'all enjoyed, and as always, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and go follow the socials, and that includes Instagram and X, and all those links are in the description of this video. But once again though, hope y'all enjoyed, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.